How's it going, guys? And welcome to the showdown between the Greenskins, led by Dr. Doom and Darkness, and the Skaven, who are going to be led by Lord Skrolk, the Plague Rat. So let's jump right into this game, guys, and take a look at some of these builds. So as far as this matchup goes for the Greenskins, I definitely think it's one of the hardest ones in the game. Doom Wheels are incredibly devastating against the Greenskins. Firstly, they have really good armor-piercing value, so they can basically just run over Black Orcs and do a ton of damage against these type of infantry. And even if you bring other infantry types like Savage Orcs or Biggins or even a Goblin front line, they also cause fear and terror, so it is such a nightmare to deal with these things. So I've been experimenting with a bunch of different builds to try and figure out how to beat the Doom Wheels, and this was one I had some, decent success with. I found that Azag was a really good pick. He's large, he has poison, he has really good armor-piercing value, so you can get him in front of the Doom Wheel and kind of lock them down and do a bunch of damage, especially with the support of Spirit Leech. But you do also have to be really careful in this matchup because the Skaven can bring the Warlock Engineer. So this looks like pretty identical to the build I usually bring against the Greenskins. So what it is it's a bunch of frontline Plague Monks, and then you mix them in with Censer Bears. So the Censer Bears are basically going to just do a ton of armor-piercing damage against Black Orcs and any other troops. So even if this Plague Monks, or not Plague Monks, but the Censer Bears here are fighting, well, I guess technically they are Plague Monk Censer Bears, but if they're fighting against Biggins or anything else like that, even though they're technically an armor-piercing unit, they still have this ability called Contaminate. So they're going to immediately lower their leadership by 10, which can lead to some pretty quick routing for the Greenskins. So he has those in the front line. You mix them in with the Plague Monks, who have a really nice anti-infantry bonus and also a good physical resist. So it's a really hard front line to deal with, especially if the player brings 2 Doom Wheels, which he did. So then from there, you bring Lord Skrolk, and you also bring the Warlock Engineer. So the Warlock Engineer has this really good ability that a lot of people, I haven't seen them using. It's the Warpstone Armor. So this is an item that he has, and basically it makes him into a Mortis Engine. So anyone within a 30-meter radius of him while he's in melee is going to be taking perpetual draining effects. So you can see my opponent gets a really good kind of drain up here on Azag. Well, not drain, but he actually locks him down with the Howling Warp Gale, so he's going to be able to get some decent little focus fire. But thankfully, a lot of his other missile units were kind of scurrying around and weren't actually focusing Azag, so it's not going to be as punishing. So what I figure you do is you get Azag to block up the Doom Wheel. You also get the Arachnarch Queen. Her spider summons are really good. The little spiders actually do poison damage. They can muck up the Skaven. And most Skaven infantry aren't terribly tanky, so if you can surround them with a lot of kind of nagging units like the spiders, they seem to take a bit of damage. Black Orcs in the front line, they do struggle a little bit, and they get beaten down, pretty efficiently by the Censer Bears. But, the more important thing about them is that they're immune to psychology, so they're not going to be terror-routed by the Doom Wheels, which is basically what I want. I want them to hold and just kind of stand and fight for as long as they can, while my spider, the Arachnarch Queen, as well as Azag are able to kind of take out those Doom Wheels. So that's pretty much it for my front line. In the flanks, I do have 3 Goblin Wolf Riders, so 2 coming from over here and 1 coming from this force as well. I do have the Death's Creepers as well as the Morgulf's Mangy Marauders, which are just going to apply some pressure to the Doom Wheels. And as far as a caster, I just have Azag with Spirit Leech and Faded Unit. So for the Skaven army, you can see in the front line, Censer Bears, Plague Monk, we pretty much already went over it, but it's typically the build I like to use against these guys. So you can see the Doom Wheel is going to be charging in and just running over my Black Orc. So what I do is I get my Arachnarch Queen just kind of attacking this, and Azag on that same note is going to be casting Spirit Leech on this Doom Wheel, and he's definitely pretty good here. My opponent does bless with Filth in the front line, getting a pretty nice kind of poison imbue on all of his troops here. And you can see the Black Orcs are just melting. I mean, right here they're melting, and the Censer Bears have taken almost no damage. But really, I just need to eliminate these Doom Wheels, and then I think from there that Azag and the Spider Queen, the Arachnarch Queen, can be able to kind of clean up the rest of the Skaven army. In the back, I do get a nice little engagement. You can see my Wolf Riders and some of my Death's Creepers are able to catch his Slingers, which is taking a lot of pressure off Azag. Had those guys been able to live and just kind of focus fire Azag, I would be taking a lot more damage. In the back, I'm getting some pretty good skirmishing, but my opponent doing a very good job with some Clan Rat Spears kind of fending me off. But really, the important thing is here, you can see the Doom Wheels are getting low. So this Doom Wheel is taking a ton of damage from the Arachnarch Queen, who has amazing armor-piercing values and really good kind of poison. So the Doom Wheel's pretty low. It's at about 1,000 HP. I do have Azag here as well. Unfortunately, I do take the Libra Bubonicus. So the Warlock Engineer and Lord Skrolk here are also focusing down my Lords. I'm pretty much going all in. I'm just like, I need to take out this Doom Wheel, otherwise I'm just going to lose. And on the other side, you can see the Doom Wheel and this Censer Bear / Plague Monk combo, which is so devastating against the Greenskins. He's able to just crush my Black Orcs. So the Black Orcs get sent running up into the hills. I think they're mostly just gone yet. 26 models are broken here, but I still do have the Queen as well as Azag, so I mean, I still have a chance here. So the Doom Wheel is pretty low. You can see it scurrying away right here. And right now, I'm just trying to push out a little bit. And even with these 2 troops, the Arachnarch Queen, I can do some pretty good damage against Skrolk as well. And they both cause fear and terror. And I don't think, are the Plague Monk Censer Bears? I think they are immune to psychology. I don't know about the regular Plague Monks. I don't think, are they? Let's go ahead and check right here. So I'm going to go ahead and pause here for a moment, guys, so you don't miss the action. So yeah, they're immune to psychology. So that's incredibly strong against these big monstrous units. So right here, you can see I'm getting some pretty good dueling on Lord Skrolk because Azag is a monster of a duelist. On that Wyvern, he applies poison, has 480 weapon strength plus Spirit Leech, and you can see that Lord Skrolk is just getting a world beating right now. So the balance of power is pretty much in my opponent's favor to the max. This looks like a game that's pretty much impossible to come back from. But guys, never give up. I mean, there's always a chance, and the Greenskins are one of those factions that do rout pretty quickly due to terror and other kind of fear mechanics. So you want to keep fighting. There's always a chance that your troops can rally. So right now, Azag is just basically hunting down Skrulk. My whole idea was like, all right, hunt down Skrulk, try and finish him off, and maybe we can kind of pull back a win here. But you can see the Blessed with Filth on all these troops is just so powerful. I do have a couple Black Orcs still fighting in the pits against these guys, and I wonder how many kills. 83 kills is not bad. They were fighting against Censor Bears and Plague Monks, both of which are somewhat pricey units. So, you know, the fact that they're still in it fighting is really good. And had those been like, you know, regular, you know, Greenskin Orc Boys or Biggins, I think they would have just got crushed even worse. So Azag here is able to actually push back Lord Skrulk, so I do cast another Spirit Leech on him, just doing my best to finish him off. He's at about 400 HP, but you can see that Azag is actually heavily surrounded right now, so the rats are kind of swarming him here, but I'm able to kind of push out using his mask, which is nice. On that same note, I also do have my Skirmishers, the Death's Creepers over here, as well as the Morgrib's Mating Marauders, getting some really good focus fire. And the Arachnarok Queen has come back from route, which is huge, but unfortunately my opponent has Doom Wheels, just a horde of Skaven coming down from the hills. The balance of power actually tilted back in my favor a tiny bit with Lord Skrulk getting pushed down. So basically right now I'm just kind of using my mask to push through, and he was chasing me, but I actually summoned some spiders with the Arachnarok Queen. So you can see the spiders here are just kind of mucking down these Skaven, doing a really, really good job, and it allows me to kind of snipe out his lords. So right now you can see the Plague Rat just got dumpstered by this giant angry Arachnarok Queen, definitely getting a little bit crazy over here. And his Warlock Engineer is now being threatened as well, so I'm just trying to finish him off. I'm like, all right, take out the Skaven leadership. They're a faction that also suffers from poor leadership, so just kill them and I'll be okay. So the Warlock Engineer does get pushed back, and now you guys can see the balance power is relatively even. But honestly, guys, I don't have much left. I have Azag here, I have the Arachnarok Queen, who still does have two charges of the Spider Summoning left. So we're able to kind of push back these Plague Monks and everyone, and I'm just kind of kiting him out, because the Arachnarok Queen does actually have some decent missile attacks, so I wanted to like kind of buy some time, kite back, you know, kite and fight, terror out whatever troops I can, and I guess the Plague Monks are only immune to Psychology while their Frenzy is active, so that actually makes sense. So the Arachnarok Queen here is going to get into the blob, and you can see she's going to munch on some of these Skaven right here. So she's in the pits, she's happy, ready to party, and oh man, those guys are just getting feasted on. So Skull Muncha, as well as the Arachnarok Queen. I don't know, but these guys have some pretty good AP, but as long as the Plague Monk Censor Bears aren't like kind of getting a good surround on them, they should be able to fight for some time, but I'm still taking damage, which isn't good. You can see 1300 HP here, about 2700 right here, but a big issue here isn't necessarily the damage. It's like if you get any low leadership at all against Censor Bears, they can send you routing. So over here, unfortunately, the Doom Wheel is coming back, so I use Azag to intercept it. Man, Wyverns are so good at fending off Doom Wheels, and oh, it gets crushed. Look at the camera shaking. So the second Doom Wheel coming in, and you can see Azag and the Arachnarok Queen are going to be doing all they can to focus this Doom Wheel. It's very low, has about 1400 HP, but I'm still taking some pretty good armor-piercing damage. You can see the Arachnarok Queen has lost about 400 HP since last we looked, and Azag is actually wavering. He's in some really bad shape, taking some heavy damage, so I'm pulling in my Goblin Big Bosses, just everything I possibly have. I do have the Death's Creepers over here who could potentially get a decent rear charge to help out. Probably should have done that, but the Doom Wheel itself is also routing. So Azag is incredibly low. He's at 400 HP, guys. The Arachnarok Queen is you know, it's shaken. And despite the fact it's actually somewhat healthy, the debuff from the Censor Bears, the Contamination, is doing some great work and kind of, you know, forcing it to be threatened perpetually. So on the high ground, I do have a couple Black Orcs coming back. It looks like there's 14 over here. I do have the Death's Creepers over here, and I do have a Goblin Big Boss coming back from route as well. So it's an incredibly close game, guys, but it's still favoring my opponent a little bit. He still has such a mean blob of Skaven troops. So my Arachnarok Queen now breaks. So it's looking pretty grim, guys. Honestly, the bounce power is tanking very badly. But I still do have the Goblin Big Boss, who isn't a pushover. But again, Goblin Big Bosses have poor leadership, so once the Censor Bears start focusing him, he's probably going to break as well due to the Contamination. So Azag's going to flee off into the trees, but thankfully he does kind of recuperate right here. You can see he's back, rocking a hard 3 leadership. Definitely ready to party. And I still have enough for a couple Spirit Leeches. I don't have enough for Fate of Una, but Spirit Leech still does okay damage. But man, those Black Orcs are just getting crushed by these Skaven, just like pushed off the battlefield. My 2 Goblin Big Bosses are fighting here, and I get a decent little charge of Death's Creepers, who actually did some really good damage against these Censor Bears and actually lead them to be shaken. But still, they have like 2000 HP, which is going to be rough. So basically right now I'm just trying to regroup my troops. You can see I'm pulling back my Goblin Big Boss, who is, you know, relatively quick despite the snare nets, and I just need to get everyone back. Azag just kind of keeps wavering and routing and just coming in and out of the battlefield. And do I have anything else? I don't think so. I have some Goblin Wolf Riders over here, and everything counts at this point. You can see the Plague Monks here are all very low. I mean, his army's very tattered, and the Frenzy is now gone from all of these guys, so they're no longer immune to Psychology. So I was like, okay, let's get my bearings, excuse me. Let's get my bearings, kind of like regroup, get one last desperate charge into these guys, and potentially do pretty well. I do get a Spirit Leech on these filthy rats, and it's doing some pretty good damage. I mean, not as good as like a Fate of Una would do, but it still is like adding up and getting me that much closer to coming back. You can see the balance power is almost even. I'm like clawing my way back in. The Arachnarok Queen getting some pretty good kind of missile fire here, pressuring these guys. So now this is it. It's time for the last alliance of goblins and orcs and spiders to make their last charge against Mount Doom over here. So we're going to try our best to take out these Plague Monks, and you can see we're both like forming ranks. He knows what's coming. I'm basically just reforming, getting my guys together. I even have a couple Black Orcs back in the party. Morgrim's Mangy Marauders are coming back for some action. And once I get them all a little bit higher and tighter, Azag is going to provide some encouragement to them. So I think that's like +8 leadership, so it should keep them relatively positive. So the Goblin Big Bosses are at 28 leadership. This one is at, it's pretty low. It's at actually 52 right now. It's not terrible. All right, so here comes the last lines of Orcs and Greenskins, and well, I guess that's the same thing, Greenskins and Gobos and whatever else is still left here. And now it's time for the last charge. So I get one more Spirit Leech on these guys, get them relatively low. I mean, they were, at 2,500 HP, and now they're, getting closer to 1,500, 1,600. And you guys can see there's 25 seconds left, so this is the determining factor. Who's going to win? It's the final charge, the final countdown. So we're getting in there, and here come the Greenskins. So the Greenskins are going to just charge in here. You can see the spiders just going to be mowing over these Skaven, and you can see that the Goblin Big Boss is here, and as well as Azag, he's going to be coming down from the skies. He's definitely causes a lot of fear and terror, so here he comes, guys. And boom, he just lands in those Skaven, and is immediately going to waver and terror out those guys. And the Arachnaut Queen and these other troops here are just putting up such a great fight. You can see the Skaven are just being feasted upon, and it looks like, guys, the Skaven line is going to buckle, and the Greenskins are going to win the day. So for those of you guys that said it couldn't be done, the Greenskins couldn't beat this build, and he was a very good player. Like, his micro was good. He was very aggressive with the cycle charging. It can be done. So I still think there's some minor kind of adjustments I could make to that build. I brought the Goblin Wolf Riders just in case he had artillery or kind of Globadiers in the back to shut down. They were still okay. Like, they put some decent pressure on things, but they obviously get outclassed by the Gutter Runners. But the Arachnaut Queen seemed to be a really good answer. And basically, whenever you bring something like the Arachnaut Queen, you also want to have something that can counter its counters, right? So that's why I brought all the Goblin Wolf Riders to shut down Globadiers and artillery and things like that. But man, this Arachnaut Queen was a freaking MVP this game. Like, it blocked up the Doom Wheels, did a ton of damage with Azag, and was also able to summon spiders, which just kind of dragged down a lot of the Skaven troops. So very well played in my opponent Lunchboy. That was a really fun game. I'm glad I got to showcase this build to you guys. I think with some minor tweaking, it could be very efficient against the Skaven. So very well played, my friend. Look forward to running into you again on ladder, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this Greenskin Showdown. Have an excellent night, guys, and take care.